And broadcast not. It's not an option. Can you hear us?
Okay, so I think we are live already.
Yeah, I think so. According to this weird panel, we are.
So let's wait for a moment.
Yeah, let's wait for a moment.
Folks to join, and we'll proceed with the next session of event storming.
Yep.
I think you can maybe share the screen already.
Yeah,
I will also send this I will send this read-only link. So if someone wants to see the board, can join to the Miro board.
Hopefully you can see this. Yeah. Something is wrong with the echo in the speakers. That's weird.
There should be no echo.
Yeah, because I'm muted on the. Hello, Pavel.
Hey.
Can you? Is there any kind of echo or echo? Or has anybody?
Okay.
It's okay. That's weird. Okay, so Adam, maybe check your speakers. So seems okay on my side. Yeah. Hello everyone. Hello George, Machi.
Hey. I just sent the link to the Miro board if you want to.
No issue, Adam.
Get in action.
Yeah. Have I sent you the link? I mean, you, Peter? Do you have access to the board? Okay, I can see you. Sorry. I didn't see you. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So in the meantime, I think that we could discuss what we've done so far. Maybe some other folks will join. And yeah, we could sum this stage up and then think about the continuation, the potential continuation. Sounds good?
Makes sense. So, yeah, let's do a quick summary. So currently we have the episode number 2. So previously was the very first episode in which we started with this event storming big picture, just to get the better understanding of this overall system that we are going to work with and implement. And we spent over an hour, about 90 minutes, I think, on designing this, let's say, our business. So we started with this. We started with the list of events, right? So we started with this chaotic exploration, right? We just put this orange sticky notes to our board, these events that we could think of. And then we started actually to somehow sort these events in time, right? What's triggering what in some particular order. And we started sorting these events. And then we added another sticky note, this yellow one, for our actors that interact with the system and that, can produce the events. So we mostly came up with actors like host, participant, user, candidate, speaker. I think this would be all actors that we have found out so far.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but the crucial point in here is that as the big picture session, the main goal is basically to get the understanding of the whole system in general. And this is why in typical session you would collaborate, or maybe you would involve not only the developers but also the business or domain experts, whoever can answer the questions of how the particular thing should work. And once you actually have the events put onto the wall, you basically want to order them somehow. So this is why we introduced this timeline. And then we basically, as Peter mentioned, we started to distinguish the particular flows by using this swim lanes. So this is called the swim lane, this red dotted lanes in here. And we also distinguish the pivotal events, which are quite important when it comes to the whole idea in general. So we distinguish the call for papers started, call for papers finished, conference started, conference finished, session started, session finished. So somewhere in here. And basically based on this, we try to finish this chaotic exploration and make this more and put this into some sort of structure. As you can see, not only we have the domain events, so this orange stickers represented in here, but we also had the actors mentioned by the Peter. You can also see this pink stickers, which are the hotspots. So basically, if we have any clue or we have a doubt about something, we can basically put this on the wall and take this as a consideration and maybe as some sort of entry point for the next session of the event storming. So for now, we have the ticket sale started and we have the hotspot. What sale policy do we have? So basically, this is the first hotspot, host delete. What should we do if any conference already exists? This is something that we this is kind of unfortunate because we are both the developers and the business at this point, of course, with your help. But we need to think about this also. The speaker and the user, we had this hotspot. Do we really care whether the speaker logs in? So should we distinguish these two domain events? Maybe this is something that we should basically skip and basically think about the speaker as a user, as a regular user. Another hotspot, ticket sale ended, could be triggered by the sold out. So basically, can we have the situation in which the ticket sold out will trigger this tickets being ended? The user limit reached. Do we actually have a limit? And this is actually, I would say, that one of the most important hotspots that we have. And this is something that I don't think even the Peter knows, but I think that this will be some sort of a pivotal now. But I think that we should change the name of this online conferences platform, if we can, to basically conferences platform, and just assume that we can
hold online and stationary.
We can hook both, and that will be some sort of quite interesting case, because this will not only change the shape of the module but also some sort of aggregate. So I think that this will be kind of cool to have as a requirement. So maybe we should think about some sort of limit when it comes to the participants. How do we distribute the link to the particular session? This probably will be also important. Session interrupted, what should we do? So what happens if at some point, let's say that we are now in the middle of session at some conference, and one of us is basically going offline, or maybe two of us.
Yeah, but once again, this will be related just to the online conference. For the stationary, this won't be an issue unless, I don't know, microphone, breaks down or something weird happens. But mostly for the online.
Yep. The session started. Do we rely on platform or manage this manually? I think that at this point, those two stickers are basically representing the external system. So the idea, if you skip the first, session, was that we assume that the MVP will be nothing more but some sort of wrapper on top of YouTube. So basically, the YouTube will be responsible for the streaming and for dealing with the comments itself. But we basically would like to have this YouTube embedded video somewhere on the page, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I don't think we have any hotspot more, right?
Yeah, I think that's it, at least for now.
Maciej asked, I can do this cool thing, but you just need to be aware that I'm on 2 different PCs, so I need to be...
I'm going to show this.
Isn't the limit of the online conference established by the external streaming system? I would say it depends.
I mean, if we're going to use, let's say, Zoom, maybe there will be some limits. But if, let's say, we would use the YouTube, there is no limits for the viewers count. So it might depend on the platform.
Yeah, I would say that it's like if we had this assumption that the MVP is going to be based on the YouTube itself, then for me as some sort of host of the conference, the better the more people comes to my conference, the better, because I have higher commission, right? Assuming that the conference is paid. So it makes no sense to me to make any limit on the participants when it comes to the particular session, because I don't have any physical room and I don't have any sort of capacity when it comes to this room. So for me, it makes no sense to make any artificial limit. Or maybe in some ways I could think about the limit, because maybe my conference is exclusive and the particular session is exclusive, so I want to have this artificial limit. But when it comes to online conferences, it actually, I would say in most cases it makes no sense. When it comes to the, let's call this typical conference, it actually makes sense to have this sort of limit.
Yeah, because we are limited by the room capacity and so on.
Yeah, of course we could, and I think that we'll also cover this. We could think about some sort of overbooking policy where we basically assume that, okay, I allow to book more than I can offer the seats, but I assume that maybe some of the participants basically will not come, or maybe someone who is really interested in the session, maybe he'll basically stand for the whole session, so it doesn't bother me that much. But I think that at the process level, or maybe even on the design level, this will be more covered more, right?
Yeah. So yeah, we should, I think, proceed to this design level. The process level now.
Yeah, I think
the goal of this episode.
Yeah, I think that also this is worth mentioning, that I think that Antonios mentioned this at the very end of the previous session, that as some sort of sum up, or maybe some sort of ending when it comes to the big picture session, it would be worth doing the reverse narration. And basically, the idea is that you start from the very end of your domain events, and basically you are going backwards. So this allows you to spot some sort of missed domain events, or maybe something that is not quite logical. So why the hell I have maybe this domain event? So does anything happen before that would basically force me to trigger this one? So by basically firing this narration, you would probably find out way more domain events, and overall your big picture session will be more consistent when it comes to domain events put on the wall, right? Yeah, the thing is that we think that, yeah, I truly think that we missed a lot of events, and that's basically because I see the amount, the number of these events. It's not that high, and the system seems quite complex. But the truth is that I would say that maybe some part of the system will be basically mocked, will not handle this, and this is related to whole thing related to the sponsors and the payment, this will be mocked probably.
Yep.
And I think that the most important domain events are already in here somewhere, or some of them will be redefined during the process level, or maybe even on the design level. So I think that we can basically skip this, but it's just worth mentioning that normally when you would finish this whole big picture process, is good to have some sort of check whether this actually makes sense, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I'm pretty sure we missed some events, but we didn't spend few hours, or let's say 2 days, on this big picture. So it's obvious that we will miss something, and we are not the business experts as well. So
and once again, I think that it's also worth mentioning. I don't think that we and this sounds kind of brutal to us. I think I don't think that we are the events storming experts when it comes to this topic. So I think that we could do quite a lot of mistakes during the first session, but we're just having fun, and we're doing our best to actually have some sort of assumptions and maybe some sort of doubts before we actually start typing the code, because it feels right to care about the business first, and then we'll see what will be the result of this session. So I wouldn't say that this is something that's something referential. I think that basically we're trying to have fun and to make this useful, and not just the idea is not only to put these stickers because it's fancy, but basically we do our best to make it useful also.
Yeah. Exactly. All right, so let's move to the second part. Let's try to design some processes. Okay.
I think
I think we'll most likely start with the simplest ones, being probably the CRUD style processes.
I think that before we actually move to the process level, I think that it's worth mentioning what's the point of doing the process level. So the idea itself is that the process level, first, it's like we have the domain events already, so this is cool. But it would be also cool to have some sort of input. So what triggers this particular domain events? So this could be the few things. Alberto Brandolini mentions few. So this could be like the user, the external system. This could be the time, and some other that I don't recall right now. But this is not the crucial part. So the idea is that we would like to step down and introduce some other stickers that would represent some sort of input to our system. But also the idea is that we would like to discover first the subdomains of our system, and eventually, if we are following the domain-driven design, some bounded context. So I would say that it's like the subdomain is something that we can see in the real life and the reality.
So this is like the space of the problem.
And eventually, and typically when you have the some sort of business, it's basically some sort of scalar of few subdomains being used, right? So let's say that you are maybe selling you're selling the cars on the internet. So this is some sort of scalar. This whole business is built on top of few subdomains. So one subdomain is very general and will be basically selling. The other thing would be some sort of cars thing. So and the third one maybe, or maybe this first one could be some sort of online selling, right? So these two subdomains could be bound together, and this actually makes your business. But for us, it makes sense to distill this and create some sort of distinction, whether this is the subdomain or whether this is something else. So the process level should discover what subdomains do we have within our system. This is the first thing, because we can see the representation in the real life. And I would say that the another level is basically discover the bounded contexts. So bounded context could contain more than one subdomain within our system. And not only because the bounded content is something, I would say, artificial, something that we put into our domain model. And basically, the idea about the bounded context is that we share the ubiquitous language within it, right?
Mhm.
So this can contain, yeah.
This would be this, let's say, solution space, model space. So something that we came up with, not like this realistic problem space, which is a subdomain.
Yeah. But basically, the whole idea is that, yeah, I think that at this point is like the subdomain could be, you could see the actual thing in the reality, like this sailing, like, I don't know, invoicing, like the whole accountants and so forth, while the bounded context could be some sort of mixing, but this will create some sort of boundary in which the particular things within the model make sense. So it's like, if you have the very easy example, is like you have the product. So maybe if you have like some sort of e-commerce, for the guy who is selling this, the product means something. So the product has a name, has a price, and something. Maybe for the guy who is selling this, the product is all about the commission that he makes. Maybe for the advertising, the product is all about the graphic. And so this could be like three different representation that means completely different thing for the three different actors or the part of our system. So even though it's like we think about the product in general, this could be even named differently, because for one this could be some sort of object, for someone this could be an item, for the third one this could be the product itself. So this is the whole idea. So the process level is like we slightly step down on the particular I would say workflows, or maybe the processes that we have within the system. And this is the one thing. This could help us to distill the subdomains within the whole system. And eventually we could think about some sort of bounded context. And one step, I would say even more precise, it would be either the tactical event storming, or the design level, in which we basically have an aggregate being involved, and we can think about the particular commands and domain events being, and the shape of the particular aggregates being involved with within our system. So I would say that this is the general idea. We already have the question: can hotspot be resolved during the process level event storming, or it should be done before this stage? From your experience, I would say that the hotspot is always a good point to start if you have the event storming. So if we have any consideration at any point in here, maybe this could be some sort of I wouldn't say that it's like there should be no hotspot before we do the process level or even the design level, because it's like on the process level we still think about the process, and maybe the actual shape of the aggregate will be resolved on the design level. So from my perspective, it makes no sense to trigger, or maybe to treat these hotspots as some sort of error. It's completely cool to have them, because this is something that we should consider. And of course, one thing that we didn't mention is that we mentioned this on the previous session, is that at the very end of the big picture session, there is there are two things happens. The first is that we could put the opportunity sticker. So this is this green sticker. So basically the opportunity means that, yeah, maybe something could be done better in here. Maybe we could merge these two conditions. Maybe something could be done better in general. And the second one is this blue sticker with the arrow. And the idea is that during the big picture session, at the very end, you have 3 blue stickers with the arrow, and each of the participants can basically vote using these stickers on the particular hotspot. So basically, you can choose which hotspot is crucial for you during the next session. And I think that if you would have this, and we didn't this because there's just 2 of us, so me and the Peter. The idea is that we once we actually vote on the particular hotspots and the issues, this could be a good start for the next session. So I wouldn't say it's like the hotspot is something that you should discuss and eliminate during the big picture process, because at the point of the big picture is like you do your best to understand the business. So and eventually this might evolve during the next sessions, because it's like, especially if you have the greenfield project, it's not only the developers that learn about the business, but also the business learns about the business, and they know what works best and what's not. So I would say that this can change over the time, and it's like this is a good starting point for discussion on the, let's say, the process level. But this is my point of view. It's not like I would say that it's a good thing.
Okay. Yeah, no more ads. Nothing more to be added on my side. So yeah, let's try to work on this process level.
Yeah.
And so what do we start with? We need to take a look at our events, right?
Yeah. And yeah, I think that at this point, we could introduce new type of the sticker, which would be cool. So the idea is that we introduce new one, and this is this blue one. And I know that basically the different types of the I would say the different styles of choosing the colors, but basically we will introduce the new one, which is called the command. And the command is basically the input to our system, right? And this could be triggered by, as I mentioned, by few few things. So the command could be the idea in terms of, let's say, the CQRS. It would be like we have this intention that comes from the user, basically. This could also could be triggered from some sort of external system.
Yep.
Yeah. Or even some sort of, this could be also translated from maybe some sort of integration event, some sort of event that comes within our system. So basically, I could type something like, command is nothing more but some sort of input, right? Oh, that's kind of weird. All right. So I think that having this for now, we are not introducing anything more. I think that we could start with this whole events. I think we should go from the left to the right, and I think that we could try to think about this whole shape of our modules, or whatever we'll call this, right?
Yeah. So seems there's a lot of things going on around the host. So most likely we'll start with this host command, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, let's start putting there some new sticky notes.
Yeah, I'll be now watching you. It's like I'm doing nothing. It's like all the Peter. I'm basically lazy, so I'm just let him through new stickers.
Okay, so we have this conferencing stuff, like conference creation, and we can also create the host. We can update the conference. We have this stuff related to CFP. So most likely, I need to find this shape. We'll need some sort of, boundary for our conferences things, right?
Yeah, the thing is that if you think about this, the conference in here, what do we have in here? We have this conference. Oh shit! The conference is one thing. I think that before we touch the conference, it would be worth doing the host itself.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I
So let's
think
do
that.
this typical stuff for the host. So we can, for sure, create a host,
Yeah.
and we can probably do this, let's say, update for the host, and we can most likely delete the host. But as you can see, seems like some typical class stuff, but we'll see where it gets us. So let's start with
So
this
we have
for comments.
okay. So this would end up with this free host created, host edited. Do we
Yeah,
have? Okay, we have this host deleted in here.
and this is all around the host actor in that scenario, right?
Yeah.
These comments. So, and we have these events: the host created, host deleted. I'm not sure if we have host updated. Yeah, there is host edited. So this will be our update, right? So we have this events now. We have the host created.
I think I could copy this. Will be much faster.
Okay.
Yeah.
Host updated, and then we could also have this host deleted.
Yeah. So this will be some sort of but I think that when you think about the process itself, it's like we should take the consideration about this. Because once we have this host deleted, it's like what should we do if any conference already exists? And this is something that it's not like we should skip at this point, because there was this sticky note was for something, right?
Okay, so we cannot really just delete the host like that. Sometimes we have to think about whether this is actually allowed or not, right?
Yeah. I'm thinking about some sort of policy.
Okay.
Some sort of.
So yeah, let's put there some sort of policy. Let's call it maybe this way. And depending on this policy, the host can be either deleted or maybe this host deletion will fail. So this, let's say, host deletion failed, rejected, whatever. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, at this point, I think it's worth mentioning that the idea in here is that we have some sort of policy, so something that will be determining whether this actually may happen or not. So maybe I think that at this point we still don't know whether what should happen. I think that this is a good question for the chat. What should happen if we want to delete the host, but we already defined the conference? Because this is something that we don't know, and at some point we should take care about, because maybe this is like we need to. It pretty much depends, right, on the point of the time, because if we already had the let's say the ticket sale being started, then I think that the cool thing will be to some sort of refund the whole tickets, and then basically to think about finishing the CFP if this is still going, and basically quitting the whole conference, right? Because we don't want to end up with the situation in which we delete the host, and now it's some and now the money is gone, right? It's
the
like
money is gone. There's no conference, no money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this should either be like abandoned, or there should be something more being involved rather than basically just hosts being deleted. So potentially in here there will be way more domain events, right?
Yeah, like you said, some refund policy and so on, all the stuff that could
Yeah.
be that will be actually triggered by this, let's say, host deleted under some circumstances.
Yeah. So I think it's pretty fair.
Okay, so should we add this event here? What do you think?
Uh,
Or we should just leave it as it is, maybe with some hotspot.
yeah, I think that
Right.
at this point we could. It's kind of hard, and this is, I believe, why Alberto Brandolin did not recommend the the remote storming sessions. Yeah, but to me, it's like we could think about something like some sort of tickets founded.
Okay.
But this actually applies only if the sale was started actually, right?
Yeah, if there's at least one customer. Okay.
Okay, let's put it this way. It makes sense to actually put it this way. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, let's leave it as this.
Or maybe one more thing. Maybe before we actually move the host, there could be also the conference deleted, or maybe finished. It's like Maciej, I would say refound notify attendees and speakers. Oh, this is actually a good domain event. I'm not quite sure about this one. Maybe we should not. If this has not been already started, maybe this makes no sense. But maybe notify, or maybe some sort of send email. Maybe more generic. Send email to attendees. And I have no clue why this actually. Okay, some sort of this.
Right.
Some sort of to speakers. Send an email to speakers. Makes sense, actually. Yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ, my typing is crying. Yeah. Thanks, Maciej, for this one. Yeah, I think that this makes sense.
Okay. Looks good, I think.
Oh, crap.
Yeah.
One sec, I need. You can continue. I just need 30 seconds.
Okay, sure. So, yeah, I think we can now move to maybe to conferences. So maybe when Darex comes back, we'll try to figure out something else within this area. Let's try to actually think about our conferencing stuff. So the conferencing will be most likely, once again, revolving around our host. And we can find that for the conference, we will have this events. There should be this event, something like conference created, and most likely something like conference updated or deleted. So maybe let's start with this comment stating that we can actually create a conference, and this would somehow trigger this conference created event. So let me just copy and paste this event. So let's say conference created. I'm not sure if we have here this conference updated events. Maybe it's somewhere here. But yeah, we could have this typical CRUD stuff as well. So if we, for example, update or delete the conference, so let's say we would have sort of update or delete the conference
I'm back.
request.
Sorry,
Okay.
dudes.
Okay. So if we try to update or delete the conference, I think pretty much the similar policy would have to be applied. So let's say there is this conference updated or conference deleted event. And once again, depending on what are we trying actually to update, it might be the case that, for example, if we are, let's say we wanted to run a conference, but then we had to cancel it for some reason, then I
Yeah.
think once again there'll be some sort of conference, I don't know, update or conference refund policy that has to take place. For example, when you try to cancel the conference, delete the conference, or update the conference, whatever that means. So I think this would be like a similar scenario to what we discussed before about this host deletion policy.
Yeah, this is actually highlighted by the Samir. So conference and hosts are associated. If the host is deleted, then the conference event also should be cancelled. And I truly think that this actually is true.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, deletion of the host will trigger actually deletion of all of the conference of this particular host. Something like this, as far as I understand you correctly.
Yeah, I think that at this point it's like business decision whether we basically allow this to happen. So we basically allow this to make this possible or not. But if so, then yeah, if we want to the host being deleted, then basically yeah, we run this whole tickets refunded and the whole machine of the refund being triggered. So yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, and if we finalize this conference stuff with this maybe delete conference comments, I think it will be pretty much the same. Some sort of deletion policy, or actually I think this could be like the same refund policy. So when we do the conference, we just need to somehow check if there are any attendees, there are any tickets already sold, and then we would have to run this refund policy. So I think this deletion or updating the conference could be somehow similar in terms of the outcome.
I think that at this point the whole update of the conference is more tricky, I would say. It's like if you decide to update the conference, there may be few things involved. So of course you could think about something like changing the name or changing something else, but the updating the conference could also involve changing maybe the date of the conference, and
some people maybe they won't be able to attend the conference at this date, so this could result in some refunds for these attendees. So yeah, tricky one.
Yeah, and then we should think, what if we basically will postpone the conference over the time. So we basically want to, so this will take in just like next few months. So should we allow the people to refund the tickets?
I think so. I would like to get a refund if I can join the conference that I signed up for. So
yeah, so I think that we could put some sort of hotspot in here. That at this point it's like, what happens if the people will basically freak out?
Okay. So yeah, let's just put there some maybe similar policy, and we can discuss this also later on. Deletion policy, whatever that would mean.
Yeah, I think that also this should be flipped out. I think this is the correct order, because we first need to determine the policy. This pretty much depends. I'm not quite sure yet. If we'll leave this as it is in here, it's like we update the conference and then we have the policy, At some point, since this actually is about the policy related to the conference, shouldn't this be between? And depending on this refund policy, we should not only have the conference being updated, but also the refund being allowed.
Mhm.
Because typically, when you think about the policy, I will step down a little bit. It's like you either have the policy being involved as a part of your aggregate, or it's like you have this being involved in some sort of domain service, right? So it's something that pretty much happens before you commit your changes to database, and later eventually, or actually produce the domain events. This is the domain event, not the integration event. But this is something that happens before you produce this domain event. So I think that we could flip this out.
Okay.
And eventually think about this.
Okay. So yeah, tricky parts, more tricky parts. Okay.
Yeah.
So what do we have now? Conference updated. Maybe we can also put here this conference deleted event. So this would also trigger some additional workflow, most likely. And yeah, so should we go with the next concepts, like, I don't know, CFP or something else?
I think that, yeah. But at this point, do we really have everything in here? I think not. So the conference refund policy is like at some point the conference updated. This is true. But I also think that eventually we could think about some sort of tickets refund enabled or allowed.
Okay, like tickets, maybe, yeah.
Tickets refund enabled.
Okay.
Something like this, I think. Yeah. Okay, so this could be the potential in here. Okay. Okay, we also have some sort of comment. Oh, Jesus Christ, I'm terrible at this. Maybe allow time period for when you can get a refund. For example, if you cancel 1 day before the conference, then you will not get the refund. If you cancel 7 days before oh, that's actually a good point. I think this is a good point at this one. So it's like the tickets refund. It's enabled in. This could be enabled, but we could also have something like the tickets refund disabled. Jesus. Disabled due to maybe I will just put this into this one. Yeah. Less than a week. That could be actually a good thing. Actually, this makes sense. Okay. Then if we do have this, that was the delete conference deletion policy. Can you remind me what is this?
So it's similar to like deleting the host that would trigger deletion of the conference or vice versa, where we need to refund some stuff and so on.
Okay. So at this point, I think that we could put some sort of opportunity that this could be maybe this too could be. Maybe I'll just put this opportunity. Some sort of share policy with host, sort
Okay.
of something like this. That maybe it's like we could think about merging those two. Yeah, and eventually this not only would end up with this one domain event, but this could also fail, right?
Yeah, sure. So conference deletion.
Something like failed or rejected, just the matter of the name.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's makes sense. Okay, delete conference. Actually, this will be also triggered by the host, I believe. Yeah, I think.
Mhm.
Let me just see on the delete. Where was that? This delete host. Host deleted. Yeah, I think that we missed this too. That will be probably the host. Okay, so this makes sense. I think whether we could think about anything else in here. So the
Nothing
conference
comes to my mind. So
created. I'm thinking about the CFP itself. So the CFP could be something like it's basically it's related tightly, I would say, to the conference itself. It's like it's just a period of time that during which you allow to have the submissions being sent to you. So I'm wondering whether this should be some sort of extracted to another module, or basically we could think about this, because to me the CFP is rather like it's like opened or not. We could think about
it makes sense to put it somewhere close to this.
at some point we could think about extracting this, right?
So yeah, I think we can open and close the CFP with
Was that the
any
right?
particular reason.
The only two
Right?
we have was like CFP started, CFP yeah. So we could it's like maybe according to this, maybe open is better. Yeah, open
Okay,
is
open or start.
Close. Open and close seems way better. So we'll redefine this. Let's make this. So CFP opened. CFP opened
and closed.
This makes sense. For now, I'm not quite sure whether we should distinguish those two, but I'm not quite sure whether we should distill this more. Email sent was also mentioned here, so I will basically move it. So the email sent is quite generic. We could think about the email being sent also on during the close. There's also some discussion on the chat. Let me do this. I understand. Let me just. Policy as a flow that happens after some event happens. Anything that should be checked before an event, I would call invariance. I could be wrong though. Yeah, I think that you are right. This is why I think that the conference refund policy is something. To me, the policy is something that could take the part as checking the invariance during the change being state being changed in the aggregate. So it's like the aggregate can have this policy being injected, or the some sort of domain service can have this being injected, and based on this policy will perform different things. Oh, sorry. It's like I understand policy as a flow that happens after some have. I think. Sorry. So in this case, I think that the policy could be involved in this case, because I think it's like we could think about this like the policy could determine the number of seats that you have during the presentation. So it's like maybe for the stationary conference, it's like, let's say it's like 100. But maybe for the online conference, it's basically unlimited. So you don't have this invariant. It's like set to some freaking amount. And this could affect your invariance inside the aggregate, I would say. So it's not like this, the policy has to be involved after you check your invariance and commit the changes. Or I got the question wrong. I'm not quite sure though. Another question: is it possible to delete host after CFP started?
Theoretically, I think it's possible. This is why we have all these policies in place. What happens after we delete someone?
Yes, I think we can. And eventually, it pretty much depends on. It's not not that simple, because it pretty much depends on the. It pretty much depends on the strategy that you would follow. Because at some point it's like I could start the CFP, and at the same time I could start selling the tickets, because maybe I got some great speaker on my conference. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, I could bite the folks with this speaker, and it's like at some point, if I will for some reason decide to basically delete this, it's like I need to refund the tickets, right?
All right. So I think
I'm not quite sure whether. I think that
for this part.
for the host, is it?
Yeah, I mean not for the host. I mean for this conference-related stuff. But I'm just guessing.
Yeah. So the question now is like, I would say, do we want to put this into one? Is it some sort of subdomain, or? Yeah. For now, I think that we could. Yeah. It's like not something that will think about this, the final result, but yeah, we could think about this. We could consider this one. Jesus Christ, how the hell? Okay. So I think that we could think about this as some sort of thing. I'm not quite sure whether this is submodule or the bounded context yet. I don't know. So let's just, how should we call this? Maybe we should call this, give some name. So we could follow up this. I don't know.
Yeah, this is like some sort of host conference management stuff, which is just about creating, deleting, editing conference. It has nothing to do with the sessions or participants yet.
Okay, so for now it will be like host conferences, and clearly it's like, Jesus Christ, just fucking terrible. Oh Jesus, like, sorry for the swearing, but hopefully you will not be Okay, so the host conferences, I'm not quite sure whether this will work or not. For now, what we can see clearly is like it's nothing more but the CRUD, right? It's like this too is like some sort of not cruddish thing, but it basically follows up to ends up with some sort of update and nothing more. But okay, let's just move forward, because to me it's like, okay, I'm not quite sure though whether this is good or not. So we do have like CFB being finished, but there's submissions. The submission is quite interesting, I think.
Okay, so for the submissions, we can send the submission. It can be approved, rejected. Okay, so I think we'll start with something like send submission, most likely. So someone sends the submission.
Send submission, yeah. This could be good.
Yeah, and then the submission will actually send. So let's say we have the submission send event, and then this can be either, let's say, rejected or approved. So I think there will be like 2 additional commands. Let's say approve submission and also the reject submission. And of course, this will trigger either submission approved or submission rejected. So nothing spectacular yet. The question is, should we always be able to send a submission, or maybe this send submission could somehow fail? I don't know.
I
the
think
guy
that
is blocked, or there is already enough submissions sent, or something like this.
I think that the deletion the submission could be rejected. I mean, what if the CFP is already closed?
Yeah, so that's what I asked about. Maybe there is some hard limit, some threshold, or we can only accept 10 submissions, not 100 submissions. So yeah, let's imagine that this could also fail. So this will be certainly related to, do we have the candidate? Yeah, we have this candidate actor. So let's put here the candidates as a person. And this will be somehow managed by the crew, right? So should the host be responsible for approving or rejecting, or do we have some sort of, I don't know, conference manager or some committee that's approved the submission, or it's just host for now?
It's like it's hard to say. I mean, it's like sometimes I wouldn't say that the host itself is responsible for determining whether the submission is good or not. I mean, it's like
usually there's some team.
You have
the developers team, experts, and they'll approve this person or not.
Yeah, so you have some sort of high level team which is responsible for coordinating the whole conference, and some sort of some coordination team, or maybe the guidance team. So someone who will be responsible for taking care about the particular I don't know, some sort of I don't know how to call this.
I would call them something like committee.
Yeah, something like this. Or someone basically responsible for the particular flow sessions, right? So maybe this is dedicated for the .NET developers. And for this .NET developers, I have someone who's responsible for choosing the particular...
or the board, whatever we call them.
Yeah, for choosing the particular agenda, right? So the guy knows the .NET, and he could decide based on his knowledge and experience what sessions would be the most interesting.
Yeah.
So I think
yeah.
we are missing some sort of flow in which the host promotes the user to some sort of
board member.
Board member.
Expert. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
We could add. Yeah.
Let's assume that these board members can either approve or reject the submission. So the question is, do we have anything else in here within this context of submissions? Because it seems as this might be enough, or
for what? You mean
for the submission parts? Do we have more stuff in here? What do you think?
The question though is like whether we would like to. It's kind of hard.
And we also need to find out actually in which period in time we can be accepting the submissions. So this submissions, somehow has to be triggered by, I don't know, let's say opening the CFP, and when the CFP is closed, then you no longer can send the submissions, or when you reach some limit.
You mean the? Yeah. I mean, you could do something like the very naive approach would be something like this, right? So it's like we have some sort of Jesus Christ. I mean, it's like maybe this will be better. Yeah, some sort of the event being published, and I have no clue how to. Yeah, this is the way, and this will be the way of determining whether this actually is opened or not.
Okay.
So we could basically have this information here, right? But we still miss. It's like we still miss some sort of promotion. But I'm not quite sure whether this should happen in here on the host side, or maybe somewhere in here during the submissions, because I'm not quite sure though whether this should be handled on this side. Seems like neither of this. So the host should not be. The particular conference could have some sort of list of the board members. That seems right. And the board member would have the ability to accept or reject the particular the sessions. So this could have made sense.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe I will just remove this one, because this is the as I mentioned in the previous session, the arrows is like maybe tricky. Except okay, we have few questions, so I will maybe show them. Except reject and approve reviews can send reviews for changes, so the participant can resubmit. I don't think I've ever experienced resubmission.
Yeah, when you get rejected, you just sometimes get information, sorry, you're rejected, and that's it. I mean, you can send multiple submissions as a single user usually, but if you get rejected, usually you don't get a second chance unless there is a free slot and they will invite you.
Yeah, but as some sort of fixing the for changes, but I've never seen something like the panel for changing the pending submission or something.
This is rather immutable.
Yeah, it's like you send it, and it's like if you had a mistake, it's like it's pretty much it's gone. It's like either you will be submitted or not. Shouldn't board members be notified about new submissions and candidates about submission result? Yeah, this is actually a good question. This is a good thing. We should add this one, right? So submission
Right.
approved is like we could add some general domain event like email sent, right? Because this is
the best one.
mainly what happens. So could you add one? Yeah, that would be cool. That'll be something that actually makes sense. So some sort of email sent, yeah. So if we approve someone, it's like thank you, and you're a happy guy because you are going to have a presentation on our conference, and it's like great. And during the rejection, it's like sorry, but there were others.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's. I'm not quite sure where this board member promotion is happens actually. I think that
it can be even before the conference. Usually, it happens before the conference starts. So there's just a draft, and then you get an email. Hey, would you like to be part of this, let's say, committee that is for .NET, JavaScript, or some other technology, and that's it. Then you just receive a list of submissions after the CFP closes, and you select the candidates.
I think that this should be part of this for now, because it's tightly connected to the conference. So the conference is aware about the fact that there are some. Or is it? I'm not quite sure though. Okay. You know what? I think that for now we should basically. I think that the good idea would be basically to think about this one. I'm not quite sure though. So something like the host. The host is going to. Oh Jesus! It's too hard for me. Okay, so it's like the host is going to promote user to maybe invite board member.
Yeah, makes sense.
Something like this one. And something like board member.
I mean, the board member could actually accept the invitation or reject it.
Accept it. I think that probably he will reject this. But for now, let's just leave it as it is. I'm not quite sure though why this should be the part of this one. Host initiating the invitation for CFP submission start. Yeah, but this is what we do have in here. So something like in here, right? We have the host, which is opening the CFP, right? And the closes is. Since this is something related to the host. So maybe not the host, but some sort of conference itself. It's should authorization rules be part of the domain layer?
No, the authorization the domain shouldn't care about authorization and this sort of things. It should be usually somewhere at this, I don't know, even sometimes the API layer before you even can hit some, let's say, endpoint and execute some action. Usually this is where the authorization happens. So the domain shouldn't care about this.
Yeah, I would say the same. Yeah. At this point, we are not caring about this that much. Yeah, the question is now the question I do have is it's like once we approve the submission, it's like it pretty much becomes the actual talk, right? Because the submission is slightly different than the talk. The talk at least from my experience, could be edited, adjusted,
Yeah,
leave it as it is, right? So could be something different. Could become
the talk has place in time. The talk might have, it has some time capacity. It is, the talk happens in some specific room and so on and so on. So just send a submission, but you don't really know, I mean, let's say in which room you will be talking or at what time and so on. So this should be, I think, different concepts.
So I think that this could be some sort of different subdomain, right? When at some point it's like one thing became another. It's like the, let's say, lifetime of this particular thing changes over the time, and maybe different rules applies to this. So it's like the submission is basically something that you can send, and eventually this could be either approved or rejected, while the talk could be adjusted and could be some sort of reference to the actual presentation, right? So the talk could be something that you can work on it, maybe work on, and eventually this could be the part of the presentation. So I think that we could think about this, because the typical thing is like the people will tend to create some sort of submission with the submission would have some sort of enum or the boolean, whether
State.
it's approved, or state is approved or not. The question though is, right, whether we would like to have this being snapshot at the different times, and whether we would like to capture the different lifetime of the particular beings, like the submission and the talk. Because if we would basically merge this two, it's like, the submission was approved, so it's officially the talk, but if any changes is being performed during this time, it's like it affects the submission also, right?
Yeah. So this should be a separate concept. So basically,
it could be. It could be. It's not necessarily that it has to be, but it could be.
But it makes sense, I think.
Yeah, if we care about the submission and the talk being separated concepts, and like this is something that is pending, this is something that was already accepted, and we would like to have the separation, clean the separation between those two, and would like to have the separated snapshots of these two objects. It's like it's a good thing to have this some sort of boundary between those two, right?
So I think when we actually approve the submission, and then this submission is approved, and let's say we are about to schedule our conference, set up some different rooms, and set up the timing for the speakers and so on, I think this event would actually somehow trigger this the creation of a talk. So after the submission has been approved, maybe some time has passed, actually we would see this talk added, or whatever we call it. So something like this would happen over time, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, this could be. This could be something like becoming, right? So you have the being like the submission, and this becomes the talk, or I don't know how the talk. I'm not quite sure whether the talk is good verb. Sorry, not the verb, but the better noun here. I think so now. Jesus Christ, I have another thing. Sorry, just 30 seconds. Another 30 seconds. So this is all for you, Peter. You need to handle this. Can you handle this?
Okay, sure.
You all rely on the Peter right now. It's like 30 seconds. Jeez.
All right, so I'm not sharing the screen, but I hope you will see at least where the director has left the screen. So we mentioned this submission approved, and then some time passes, and then we have this talk related thing. So the talk will be somehow added or created. So most likely these two should be treated as a separate concepts. So let's think if there is more to that. We need to ask ourselves a question whether this is actually possible to update the talk. So let's say I'm going to put there this very generic update talk command, because there may be some typo, or maybe we want to change something in our talk. Maybe the organizer would allow us actually to, change even the topic of our talk. So we can think of this update talk, this editing of the talk, which would of course result in something like talk updated, which I think it's not that important event for now. And I think the talk can be updated by both usually. So it could be updated by the actual speaker, but of course it could be also updated by the host. The only question is that if the speaker updates a talk, whether this talk will be updated just like that, or maybe if the speaker updates a talk, then it has to be approved by the host, or the board member or whatever. But that's just
that's actually kind of good question.
Yeah,
I would say that I think that the host has slightly more power than the speaker, so it's like maybe you did some sort of typo. I don't think that the host itself will try to make your agenda look stupid. So it's like probably it makes no sense to trigger this. So it's like I'm behaving like a business. Let's just assume that it makes no sense to notify and to require some sort of approval from the speaker.
Okay. So there will be just a speaker, right?
Yeah, I think that the speaker and the host itself. Yeah, the host itself also could be involved.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like maybe we have some sort of typo. Something could be written, slightly.
Yeah. So it could work even in a way that when we actually trigger this talk updated, then there is another event, something like talk update approved by the host or whatever. So we provide sort of a draft of our updated talk, and then someone has to approve it. But that's something that could be discussed.
Yeah, could be. Yeah.
Okay.
But this is something more that I think that we should discuss, because I think that at some point we should say that this what we've done in here, it's like we do have let's say something that is representing another maybe subdomain or something. We could think about this one. So, oh Jesus Christ.
I think we can call this something like submissions, maybe, because it seems that everything is around these submissions here.
Yeah, this could be some sort of submissions, but in here, you use the submission word. So this would, for me, this means that this is some sort of published language. It's like the talks are aware of the fact that there was the submission before, and we should consider whether this is something that we should allow, or this is something that should be maybe translated somewhere in between to the talk, like create a talk. So should the talk itself be aware of the fact that there's some sort of submission, and whether this will actually and I think that maybe more the design level, whether this will affect some sort of some frequently changing code.
Yeah, because theoretically you could provide or add a talk without sending the submission, because maybe you invited some fancy guest speaker, some famous guest speaker, and this person doesn't have to send the submission at all to actually provide this talk or add this talk. Yeah.
So this is one of the heuristics that could be used for the distilling the subdomains. So do we have any alternative entries to this particular flow? So it's like the submission. So it's like if we would like to create the command artificially, it's like, okay, update submission was approved. So somewhere in here, this was translated to add talk, right? Or create the talk, whatever. But besides this one, we could think about host. So the host could think about adding the talk completely besides the CFP. So basically, we have like really great stuff like the Scott Hanselman, or maybe the John Skeet. It's like these guys are. Let's be honest, they don't have to put the submissions, right? It's like once they actually want to be on our conference, it's like, wow, we would like to have them, right? So this could be completely beyond the submissions, and we could think about alternative entry point for this particular thing, right?
Yeah, that's what I meant actually. So maybe it makes sense to actually have this translation in place from our submission approved event to add talk as command, and also the host can just add a talk if he wants to invite some famous speaker or something like this.
But the cool thing about this is like not only we are showing that there is an alter. So what's the thing that we have this actor that could trigger this add talk thing? The cool thing is that we could show that there are some situations in which we would like to distinguish those two things. So the submission could be something completely different from the talk. And now it's like, okay, I could think about talk like the submission with the Boolean set to true, like is approved. But it's like maybe the host itself could have a power to add a talk completely besides the submission. And it's like now we have the dedicated module, maybe not the module, but some sort of, let's say, the part in our application which is responsible for the talks, right? So this could be completely beyond the submissions. And this also proves that these two things don't necessarily have to be merged. Does it make any sense?
Yeah, that makes sense to me. That I wouldn't like to treat them as the same because it doesn't sound like too reasonable for me to, let's say, invite a guest speaker and then I have to add the submission for the guest speaker. I mean, it wouldn't make sense because I don't want to have the submission as this universal concept for being a talk as well.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
So to me, it's like I'm not quite. I not necessarily would translate this. I think that this could be a good trigger for adding the talk itself. It's not like I would translate this from the submission to the talk command. This could be some sort of. Let's not discuss the handlers at this point because it's like not the design level itself, but we could think about some sort of published language in which the talks module, let's call this module, is aware of the fact that talks could come from the submission. And it's like once we actually allow this, so we have like the submission ubiquitous language, talks ubiquitous language, we create some sort of third published language in which we basically allow the submission to flow to the talks. And to me, it makes sense. It's like the talk could be born from the submission or from the host directly. It's like some sort of domain leak. But it's like my impression. It's not something that I would like to know.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, I think
Is
that
there
one
anything
more
else?
thing is
Yeah.
that the talk itself, at some point, we would like to have the data being propagated to this talk. So we'd like to have some sort of read model in here,
Okay.
right? So it's like once we have the submission approved, I'm talking about this case. It's like submission will probably in this case it will be more like the integration event, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like
Okay.
it's like I would like to have the information whether what details I have. So what is the speaker, the agenda, the bio, the maybe some avatar URL, some sort of this. So I could think about some sort of submission read model before we actually persist the talk to our module. So some sort of submission read model could be interesting in here. So this could basically, so this would come from, yeah. At this point, I think that we should basically don't use it. We're not on this level right now. Still, I'm not quite sure what's about this one. So let's just hold this question mark. It's a good thing about, yeah, make this even bigger. Scary. Yeah, we're not quite sure what to do with this one. Okay. This is it, where we have the host, conferences, submissions, and talks. So we could probably move forward with the.
Okay. What do we have left?
Actually, quite a lot, I think.
So we have some stuff related to agenda, I think tickets, and finally the actual sessions.
Yeah, the agenda, the agenda submitted. Yeah, some blah blah hosts. Yeah, I think that we could think about this.
Okay.
Could you add some?
Sure. So I think for the agenda, we're gonna start with this the typical set of comments. Let me just quickly take a look at it.
Agenda submitted.
Submitted, updated, maybe even deleted. Yeah. So should we start with something like submit agenda or create agenda?
Do we have any domain event that represents the creating the agenda itself? I'm not quite sure.
There's just agenda submitted, but we don't have anything like create agenda.
I think that we miss this one.
Could be. We have agenda updated.
I think that this will be the result of doing this reverse narration. Yeah, the agenda could be submitted, but have we ever thought about creating the agenda? I don't think so.
Yeah, probably not.
Okay, so maybe you could add this one. I will just let me just zoom to you, and I will do our best to answer some questions. Should authorization rules be a part of the domain layer? For example, host only has a permission to add a talk. The answer is no. I would say no. In this case, it's like you could resolve this on the infrastructure layer, and you could basically took the claims from the token to distinguish whether you are permitted to do some stuff or not. Do you think it makes sense or not?
For me, it makes sense. I would always put the authorization stuff to infrastructure or this API layer at the endpoint layer or any sort of interaction layer with our API or however we are going to actually expose our endpoints.
Yeah, it's like when I see the authorization, it's like, yeah, for me it's like something that you should consider to do right before you hit the domain. Did you consider a dictionary with definition of using terms, e.g. like talk, session, candidate, etc. to ES board? It would be a good thing, I think, at some point. But since there's just two of us, it's for me it makes no sense. But eventually, yeah, I think that we should put something like this. And I think that I'm not quite sure. You could correct me. It's like Alberto Brandolini. I think that he distinguished this as some sort of definition, and the definition is sort of the yellow sticker with these additional lines, and basically in which you say what is the term and some sort of description what this term represents. I think that at some point we should add this to distinguish maybe what is the submission, what is the talk, what is the, I don't know, something else. But since there's just two of us and you, I think that we skip this part. But at assuming that we would have the stationary workshops or something, I would add this at some point, because someone could be lost of what the particular term means.
Okay, now I'm thinking about this agenda stuff because let's say we can create, update, delete agenda, and the question is, so if we create the agenda, does it mean that we just, let's say, create a draft of the agenda, and then with the update, we are actually adding some talks to the agenda or rescheduling the times for the speakers and so on. And then once we, let's say, updated this agenda multiple times and we have the final version, we would click something like submit agenda. We'll have this agenda submitted event, and then we would have our original, let's say, email sent event to the conference participants. Or should we make it even more granular? Because by updating the agenda, we can actually, we can think of adding the talks to agenda or these sort of things.
Okay. Wait. So the create agenda, update, delete. Yeah, this seems quite straightforward. I'm not quite sure that we actually. Where did we discuss this during the big picture? Not quite sure though. Sorry. In the meantime, I just want to show something. So the Pavel asks, should we also update the big pictures domain events while adding events during the process level, or should we no longer worry about the big picture being out of the date? That's actually a good question, though. And Jesus Christ. I'm not quite sure which. To me, it's like the big picture was all about. We should also distinguish two things. It's like doing each of the particular event storming session has slightly different scope. So it's like to me, it's like the big picture session is all about finding the general understanding of the system, while the process level is all about finding the potential subdomain / bounded context, and the design level is all about finding the more technical stuff, right? So maybe potential aggregate shape and so forth. So to me, it's like if we have some generalization on the big picture level, And I think that the Alberto Bandolini also mentioned this, that at some point it's like you don't care about it's especially at the beginning, you don't care about fact that maybe people don't call the particular domain events correctly. It's like they don't use the past tense or something. It's like you want to have as much output as possible from the people. I would say that it's not like once we hit the process level, we should update immediately the big picture level. It's like it's slightly different. It's slightly different scope. So in here we do try to find the subdomains and the bounded context. Yeah, something in here could be maybe skipped, omitted, maybe redefined, but it's not like it did its job. I mean, it ensured us that we had some problems. We had the hotspots that we need to solve, and of course at some point we should also vote on. But I think that at this point it's not like something that we should update. So once we go to the process level, we should update this one because the scope and the people in here could be slightly different. I think that on the process level, this could be the same set of people. On the design level, probably you would omit the business guys. But at this point, it's like I wouldn't bother that much on this. But it's my opinion. It's like I don't know. This is what I would do.
Yeah, I I would say pretty much the same as you did. So what's done is done.
But I think that the Pavel ask a very very good question though. It's like, yeah, I think that it's a good one.
Okay. So I'm not sure if there's
in here. Okay, so you've done something.
Yeah. So the question is whether there is more to this agenda. I mean, because for me, this update agenda sounds very generic. Like I said, it can be anything related to adding the talks and so on. So the question is whether we would like to distinguish between things like adding the talk or it's just a generic agenda update, whatever that means.
I think that this is the question is whether we should. I'm not quite sure whether we should think about this that generically. Let me just see what we've got in here. So not that much. Agenda submitted. That sucks. We're quite inaccurate, I think. Submissions. When we do have something like the agenda. Do we have any? Jesus Christ.
There is agenda submitted, updated.
Oh, okay.
Agenda created.
But I think that at this point it's because what if we have some sort of conflict when it comes to agenda? Let's say where you have the talk, let's say at 1 p.m. And the host wants to add me as some sort of other speaker at this during the same, I don't know, flow path, whatever called this, and we have some sort of time conflict.
So
we should distinguish. Yeah. I think that the update agenda is quite generic. It's not that precise. It's more about adding and removing the particular talks, especially that if you have the talk that comes from the host. So something like I have a John Skeet or the Scott Hanselman or the David Fowler that will come to my conference, and I would like to inform the other guys about this fact. So I think that at some point it's like this update is not that at some point this will be an update, but it's like something like add talk to agenda or remove, or maybe but basically the add talk to agenda, and eventually we could think about firing some sort of policy and related to the conflict and to the PR. Makes sense to actually think about this one.
All right, so let's put here something like add talk to agenda, and maybe remove talk from agenda.
Yeah, because to me the update agenda is like quite generic. I honestly I don't like this one.
Oh, all right. Okay, and then we need to have some sort of policy, whether there is some kind of conflict, right? So
I'm not quite sure whether we should have the conflict itself. I mean, this is something that comes to my mind. It's like, because to me it's like to me this is like if we have the speaker, and the speaker basically has like one talk. So for me it's like it's fine to basically add this talk to agenda, because I know that there will be no some sort of collisions. But sometimes it's like the one speaker has more than one talk, right? So maybe I have like C# talk and also some sort of architecture talk. And I want to avoid the situation during which I have a collision that both talks are scheduled for the same hour. Because I have a collision, I cannot be in the two rooms at the same time on the two talks during the same time. So this applies not only to the stationary conference but also to the online conference, right? So I would like to have some sort of guard in here.
Sure, okay. But I mean, if the agenda is managed by the host is aware at which time you are actually available. But so what should we put there? Some sort of, let's say, policy as this kind of guard, like conflict policy, or
for now this could be some sort of policy. I'm not quite sure whether this is that heavy. Could be. I'm not quite sure though. This could be some sort of policy, but probably this will be some sort of simple check to avoid the situation I mentioned, that we have like one speaker that is involved in two parallel sessions, right?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I cannot think of a better naming now, but let's just
I do my best to now follow the chat also. Okay, I'll just randomly publish. So for me, agenda contains session scheduled in some time, and session is connected with talk and speaker. Contains sessions scheduled in some time, and session is connected with time, talk, and speaker. I also think that the session itself is something completely beyond the talk. And I also think that I would agree. So so we'll have something like becoming. So in here we'll have some sort of submission becoming the talk, which is some sort of approved, and the session could be put in some sort of time box. So this will be this part of the agenda. So I would agree. I would agree with you, Bartlomi. Another by the Bartlomi. agenda should check for rules is that in the same time there is no other session with same speaker. Yeah, this is something that we have already mentioned. Yeah. Jesus Christ, it's too much. Hi guys, so for fuck's sake.
Thank you.
I put this randomly. Sorry. It's like, yeah. It's like talk to agenda, conflict policy, talk added to agenda. Yeah, but at the same time, it's like if we would have the conflict, we have that. So talk. Jesus Christ, addition
Mm-hmm.
to agenda. Jesus, agenda rejected. Yeah, so this could be either this or this. Yeah, also we could think about, as I mentioned, it's like we have really cool guy. It's like in here, I think that we should extend this as this is policy. We could think about some sort of PR policy to some sort of
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, dot speaker announce, right?
Okay.
It's like, dude, check this out. We've already submitted this dude. And it's like, whoa. We could think about this one. Shall we? I think that this makes sense.
Yeah, it's
It's
interesting.
like, yeah, maybe we'll omit this one. It's not that important, but could be as some sort of, maybe I could make this some sort of opportunity just to make sure that this will not be
Mm-hmm.
something like this one. Yeah, make sure that this is not obligated.
Okay. So maybe
Yeah.
let's try to focus on the last one because we are already hitting 2 hours, which is quite some time. So what do you think? Maybe let's try to focus
What
on
the
one more.
Oh, it's already 2 hours.
Yeah.
That's quite a lot.
So what do we want to focus on? The presentations, the last part, or tickets, or something else?
Let me just see the. So the session started. Yeah, I think that before we hit this,
Mm-hmm.
we missed some. Yeah, we missed this, and this is quite interesting because it's like user participated to talk. User already participated. It's just a conflict, but it's like collision appeared. User limit reached. And these two, I would say that this is something that we would need to think about. And I think that this is something that, since we are already hitting
Mm-hmm.
our time now, I think that this is good question to the chat. Because now we change the assumption that from now we're not only taking care about the online conferences, but also about the stationary conferences. So now we'll have two quite important assumptions. So one is this. Let me just copy paste this. User limit reached, right? So basically, there's no more seat. And the next one would be those two. Oh, sorry. So user participated to talk or user already participated to talk. And we already have this, which is quite crucial. So this collision. So Now, this seems quite tricky because on the design level, we'd have to came up with some sort of aggregate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like on the one side we have this user limit invariant, so it's like I don't want to allow more than X members to join my session. Of course, we could think about some sort of overbooking policy, but in general, it's like maybe I have like 100 seats and no one else could join. But also we have this requirement. So I want to prevent a situation in which the user books more than one ticket for the session at the same time during one conference. So it's like I have a conference X and I have slot from 3 to 4 p.m. and I want to prevent a situation during which the user books two parallel sessions during the same slot, right?
Yeah.
So this looks kind of tricky, and yeah, this is a good question for the chat for the next live. How would you tackle this sort of requirement? What sort of once we hit the design level, what aggregates would you propose for this? Because this I've already thought about this one. It's not that easy if we think about this one. But during the process level, it's simpler, I think. So it's like if we think about the presentation as something else to which we could participate, as we discussed already, it's like the talk was added to agenda, so we could think about once again some sort of published language, or maybe some sort of customer supplier. I'm not quite sure yet. We could think about some sort of custom published language for now, but it's like the hotspot in here. Should we follow? Jesus Christ, I have the caps lock. So should we follow published? Which I'm not quite sure yet. Okay. So this would be triggered, right? By some sort of actually this will be first. Some sort of create presentation, right?
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
That will result with the presentation created, something like this one. And the particular I'm not quite sure now whether we should treat, because we could think about something like participants. And I think we had already some things like participate to talk. Is it still a talk or session? Presentation? Maybe I will just use the presentation word now. True. Participate. Something like this. But yeah, but if we participate to the presentations, like we still have this issue with the limit. So it's someone here's the limit. So I could fail in here, and because of the limit, but not only, right? I actually have two policies in here. It's like, do we have a limit? This is the first thing.
And am I already a participant somewhere else
Yeah.
at the same time?
Jesus Christ. And am I retarded or something? It's like, Jesus. Okay. Participant already joined else presentation. And this could also be wrong, right?
Sure.
And this could be this three, actually. It's like user participated presentation, user collision appeared, user limit reached, user already participated to talk. It's unlikely, but kind of weird, but okay for now. But it's something like this, right?
Yep. Okay, I think that's that's quite a lot of stuff we have in here. A lot of new questions that we didn't think of before.
Yeah, I think that we did. For sure, we have not finished, and this is something that actually bothers me. It's something that we should think about before design level.
For sure.
Because for now it's like, yeah, we have two requirements. So the participants limit, which not always be required because the online sessions probably won't have this one. But we would also want to have this check on the parallel sessions. So we'd like to prevent a situation in which the one participant basically can sign for two parallel sessions, because it makes no sense. Yeah. For now, I think that I could think about this as some sort of presentations. Yeah. So what we have for now, it's like host conferences, submission stocks, agenda, presentations. Probably will change this. And this question mark, which is kind of, I have no clue what is this. So I think that after 2 hours, it's not that much actually, but maybe, hopefully, maybe we'll save some time during the implementation. Let's see what we do have on the chat. And do we sell tickets for conference, talk, or session? Bartłomiej,
for the whole conference.
We'll probably Oh no, the conference, but we'll probably skip this module, I think. I mean, we'll mock this anyway. So I think that the events itself will appear at some time, but we will not focus on them that much. For me is the difference. We could have scheduled sessions, but we could change talks between sessions. Speaker didn't come. For me, it's the difference. We could have scheduled sessions. Haven't we thought about this? Jesus Christ! I'm constantly changing something. So we are thinking about the agenda. Sorry. Yeah. At some point, I think that it's pretty much all about the removing and adding the talks. It's different. We could have scheduled sessions, but we can change the talks between sessions. Okay, so I think that this is a good point. I think that at some point, we could think about some sort of updating. So the idea, as far as I understand this, Jesus Christ, why I do suck that much about this one? I have no clue. I have no. Jesus Christ. Okay, so the idea behind this comment is that we could think about the situation in which I did something and I'm not able to present my talk in like 15 minutes, but I am to do so within 1 hour, and I could switch with another speaker, right? So it's like I'm not removing myself from the agenda, I'm not adding myself, but we're basically flipping the speakers, and it's like, we are changing the order basically. So I think it's a good thing. Update agenda. Update?
Yeah. Reschedule, update, whatever.
Yeah, for now it's like, okay, agenda updated. I'm not quite sure, but maybe at some point we could notify the folks. Jesus fucking Christ. Sorry for swearing, but it's like annoys me. So Bartolome, good point. Talk for me some topic presentation with description abstract that is presented by approved speaker. Yeah, but we already have this in the submission. Yeah, so I think that it's like the natural consequence of the submission. So this could be edited over the time, and this is the main difference actually for now. And we also mentioned this, that the talk itself could be added directly by the host, because we have some great gut developer that could do the talk, and he's completely beyond the submissions. So some sort of alternative entry to the particular, let's call this subdomain. Okay, the last one, Bartolome. It was my answer to difference between talk and session. For now, we don't know. So for me, it's like the talk itself will be more like the container, maybe not the container, but basically will contain the data about the agenda maybe not the agenda, but the presenter, the speaker, the bio, the abstract, while the session or the presentation will be more like at this point it looks like more like an aggregate that will be responsible for guarding some sort of invariance about the maybe some sort of participants limit or some other things like we would discuss in the next session. So it's like not like one-to-one representation because the aggregate will be responsible for taking care about the invariance, but eventually we could think about some sort of snapshotting of talk being propagated to the presentation and having this data on the presentation side. But to me, it's like the talks. It's more about about data. Presentation is most about the core domain and the business rules. But yeah, I think that we'll we'll think about this one, and we'll discuss it more during the design level because that's I already see that will be not that easy to handle, and there's quite a lot of things that happen. So we'll probably finish this process level because we for sure didn't cover all the events in here. So we'll probably finish the process level and finish the design level on the next session. And hopefully, I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure whether this will. Let me just see in the calendar. Yeah, probably. Still in 2020, you will see some code. So something.
We'll see.
Yeah, something new will happen on this during this live sessions. So I think this is it when it comes to this particular live. And before we finish, 2 licenses, and I think that for sure this will go for Bartłomiej and for Maciej. These 2 licenses for the microservices.net or
any other course you want.
Or any other course you want. This will go for you 2 guys. Thank you for collaboration. Thank you for supporting us. So Maciej Hamulak and Bartłomiej Obrzut, just let us know on some sort of chat, on private message.
Email.
Give us your email. We'll send you the access to current or the future courses, and that's pretty much it. And this is our sort of thank for your support. And we'll see you soon. Probably next week, but we'll see.
Yeah. So thank you for being with us for over 2 hours. Thanks for the great questions and for messing up with our plan with lots of interesting questions, which is really nice. So we have now a lot of concerns that we have to think about actually to make it work. This is great.
Yeah. So as we already mentioned, it's like it's going to be a long. Yeah, it's going to be a long session. It's like we started 4 hours past, and probably for the next year you will hang up with us. So
we'll see. Okay.
Yeah. So thanks you, and see you. Hopefully next week. See ya.
Next week.